Hello beautiful people and welcome to another fantastic episode in which, by the way, we are using the gear, but we want to do something different. We want to evaluate in this video what is the true capacity of the TOPWAR employees to implement something in TOPWAR, or in other words, how good are they in assessing a new thing being implemented and how will that affect the game. And I specifically said Rework game employees because the devs of course are included, but there are people above the devs which are always gonna have a thing to say about it. In other words, approving or denying ideas. So for all TOPWAR employees. So that's why we're gonna use the gear. And of course, again, I'm gonna use the Age of Empires mobile for a simple reason, because it has also the gear and it's pretty much implemented in the same way as in all other war games out there. So what you're seeing here in Age of Empires, I have 5 pieces of gear, gold pieces of gear, and I have obtained 4 for free, and 1, yes indeed, I had to buy the recipe, but we're gonna get into that. So let's debunk this step by step. The idea behind it. So first of all, in TOPWAR, you will gonna need a catalyst. Theoretically speaking, yes indeed, you have a chance to get a gold pieces gear without a catalyst. And of course, also the catalysts, all 3 of them, are also possible to be obtained in-game. While on the other hand, if we have a look at Age of Empires, it's pretty much the same thing. You have a crafting guy in here. And there is one recipe which theoretically has a chance to give you also gold piece of gear. And you can obtain that for free from a lot of in-game stores, from events by the way, and obviously also by purchasing the recipe. And this is how you can craft your gear. Now, let's put the gears back to back. And here, for example, we're gonna take a piece of gear from Mr. Paul. So in both cases, you need a recipe and some materials, and you can get a gold piece of gear. Step number 2 is, they offer you a level of customization. While in TOPWAR, these are the random attributes, and indeed you have far more options. I can search for Army DEF or other stats and put it in there. In Age of Empires, I would like to add the star system. Now, every piece of gear has actually different buffs, and this is no different than TOPWAR indeed, because what you're seeing in here are also stats. But there is a huge difference, by the way, dear beautiful people. So if we have a look at the chest here in Age of Empires, if you have a look at the star number 2, that gives me an extra capacity, unique capacity, which means in other words, this is the march size. While the star number 3 and star number 4 are just some flat stats, which you can also get from somewhere else in the game. While on the other side, we see the TOPWAR with these random attributes. So while in TOPWAR you have the refine function, in which you can take a stat from one piece of gear and put it in here, in Age of Empires, you can enhance this by using in-game items. And for that, let's take this piece of gear, because if we have a look at the enhance, it's right now at level 10. I need items like this in order to bring it to level 20. And you see the option 1 and 3 being free-to-play options, while the middle option is obviously the store. This is how I brought it up to level 17 right now, absolutely for free. And once it's level 20, yes indeed, I can jump and unlock the extra march capacity. Which means, in other words, you don't necessarily need all these pieces of gear to 5 stars. Sure, do they make a small difference? Yes indeed. But even if both games are actually war games, there is a massive difference between them. But you would only understand this sentence far better once you have tried a game like Age of Empires Mobile. So good, we have reached this point. And the conclusion till now is absolutely simple. Everything is acceptable, everything is understandable, and this is the way it should be. So while in Age of Empires Mobile, we are pretty done with this right now, in TOPWAR, sadly, Rework game has decided to add the first level of insanity. And by that, you guessed it people, we definitely have to talk about the runes. And I've made a video a while back in which I have asked Rework game to make a small change when it comes down to the runes, because the runes won't be taken away from the system. But the change is every time you craft a piece of gear, and if the system indeed decides that you will gonna get a rune, in this case, for example, let's say it's the gun, then please give me a box. Because the player must have the opportunity to select exactly the rune which he or she desires in order to have a healthy way of progressing and not keep getting discouraged as you are not getting the specific rune which you need. Now, Rework Game indeed ignored that feedback, but then again, Rework Game was also not the only one which ignored that, because yes, you guessed it, the community didn't rally behind that idea, which led to a very justified ignorance from Rework Game. People, facts are facts. Good, so we said that's the first level of insanity. But Rework Game actually didn't stop there. They implemented the second level of the insanity. I could understand that. And you guys know the story, and Rework Game keeps denying it. Why I keep alleging this was the case? Because you remember the younger accounts had a far higher chance to get runes. And allegedly, if that is indeed the case, and that's absolutely my belief, the ground idea behind it was to get players closer together in stats faster for the battle events. And this per se is not necessarily not understandable. But this again, we're going to play a massive role in the conclusion of the video, which is, by the way, right now. But before we get to the conclusion, let me add you something super important, because Rework Game with the Titan gear didn't stop actually there. And they added the pets. Now, the pets per se are not necessarily the issue, dear beautiful people, but what is a massive issue are these platforms right here. And you guys know my account. I'm VIP 16 from January 2022, and I kept spending kind of a lot of money. But what you're seeing here, me having issues with this, because I don't have the items at such high level. And what exactly am I trying to tell you, dear beautiful people? So, first Rework Game takes this decision with the Titan runes and allegedly the higher drop rate to bring players closer together in stats for the sake of the events. And by the way, there are different ways to do so. But then right after that, the next decision is actually to implement these platforms. And with such questionable design, you are literally doing the opposite, because you are pushing the players back apart from the stats perspective. And that, beautiful people, is the exact thing which I wanted to highlight in this episode. What exactly is the capacity of the TOPWAR employees, in which of course the developers are included, but not just them, again I have to repeat myself, also the higher employees which are above the devs and have to approve or decline an idea. What is their capacity of developing and implementing something in a game and being able to assume how will that affect the game? Will it be positive? Will it be negative? I don't have to remind you what happened end of January this year when we have a massive lot of players leaving the game, hence because of the gear. So beautiful people, up this point all is left is actually to give them a note. From 1 to 10, let's say 1 is absolute atrocious and 10 is absolutely best, and you're definitely gonna need some fancy glasses in order to write 10 in the comments. And honestly speaking, if you are expecting me to rate them right now, I don't think that's the most important thing, because dear beautiful people, I'm just the messenger. And the vote which is far more important is actually your vote, and the vote from your friends, and the vote from the friends of your friends. That's more important. Anyways, beautiful people, I hope a lot of you have reached this part in the video. And thank you very much for doing so, but don't stop just here, because you can support further, and also absolutely for free, by subscribing to this channel, by sharing the channel with your friends, by watching more episodes, by sharing these episodes to Rework Game, even though you don't agree 100% with the way I have presented you the topic, because you also have the comment section in these episodes in which you have the ability to give your feedback, because at the end of the day, dear beautiful people, there is one thing which is unacceptable, and that's, from my perspective, is ignorance. So yeah, beautiful people, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Ciao, ciao, ciao.